Joining us now, old friend of mine, Shelby Talcott. She's a political reporter over at Semaphore. It's great to see you.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so Shelby, you've been all over the GOP primary, or I guess not technical primary yet, but officially probably primary that's happening right now. We were just talking about news. Ron DeSantis very likely set to launch his campaign either next week or sometime within that. You wrote a new piece. Let's put it up there on the screen. The real 2024 campaign started in Iowa this weekend. DeSantis giving us a little bit of a preview of what he's going to be doing. Tell us a little bit about what you learned, what this primary is going to look like.
Yeah, I think it's been obvious that DeSantis is running for a long time, but this was the first weekend that I really noticed him kind of branch out of his Florida-focused rhetoric. And so I'm sure you guys saw over the past few months when he was doing his book tour, it was very Florida-focused. This time he started branching out and he started giving kind of indirect jibes over at Trump. He did the, handshaking and the flipping the burgers for the press. He didn't speak to the press, which was notable because Congressman Feenstra's people were really pushing his team to do so. And they essentially, from my understanding, were telling his team, well, hey, this is how we do things every year. And this is, you're about to launch your presidential campaign. This is how things have to be. But by and large, it was really the first indication I felt like that things are heating up. He's about to announce.
Got it.
So how did he do in terms of the knock on him has been like, oh, he's not very personable. He's not very comfortable around people. He doesn't do like the glad handling piece of politics very well. And there have been some indications of that. I mean, there was, the one member of Congress that he met with and then directly afterwards endorsed Donald Trump. You had stories coming out about, hey, I sat next to this dude for years. We served on the same committee and he didn't even learn my name. Do you see any evidence of that on the nascent campaign trail thus far?
Yeah, listen, I think, and I've talked to people close to him and they acknowledge that it is not his bread and butter. He prefers to be at home with his family, which I think is completely fine. But for a presidential campaign, you have to kind of branch out. So I'm seeing evidence that he is taking those criticisms and trying to apply them. But I'm also seeing evidence that it's not natural for him. In Iowa, there was a clip of him as he was talking to prospective voters that went viral among the Trump team where he was like laughing really aggressively. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of awkwardness.
The egregious part to me was the guy who was like, I drove 2 hours to come see you. And he was like, thanks, and just turned around. I was like, oh, dude.
I didn't even see that.
It was part of the same clip. But that one, I was like, that actually might be worse whenever you make people feel that way. Tell us about the actual infrastructure of the campaign. Been covering it now for quite some time. One of the things that we saw was that Trump canceled this event in Des Moines, and everyone was like, oh, DeSantis is going to go in on Iowa. He's going to try and make the early states part of his strategy. How would you assess the strength of their relative campaigns, I guess, at the starting line right now?
Well, I think it's early on. He certainly had a really tough month last month, and the Trump team was really on point. And, when he came out to Washington, D.C., they announced a whole slew of Florida endorsements right in his backyard. And I think it was a little bit difficult for him because he's been of the mindset, DeSantis has been of the mindset that we're going to keep everything really locked down until we officially announce. I don't know if that's a misstep by his team, given you have Trump so aggressively for so long, kind of taking a beating on him. But as for Iowa, I actually think his team showed a lot of political savviness in, after they stayed on the ground, first of all, in Iowa when there was a tornado watch, which I was in the state and it was a little bit rainy, but
it was fine.
It was fine.
Okay.
And then they, after the second event, they went and they posted up right in the backyard of where the Trump rally was supposed to be. And I thought that was really smart. And they were outside, indicating, what a beautiful night. So yeah, there is political savvy there. A lot of his team, his official campaign team, is going to be comprised of people who have been around him for a long time. Now, how that ends up expanding, I don't know. I know that DeSantis has been historically very focused on, he's very insular. It's him, it's his wife, and those are the two main people. And he's going to have to expand that a lot and figure out kind of new hires that he can trust. And I think that's going to be a really big test for him because he's never had to do that before.
Yeah, I agree.
What is their theory of the case about how to, or whether even to go directly at Trump. Because this is one of the things we've been talking about here. There's really a double standard. I mean, Trump has been saying all kinds of crazy stuff about DeSantis. He like basically said he's a groomer. I mean, just unleashing a slew of attacks against Ron DeSantis. DeSantis will make this little like sort of side jab, like, I don't know anything about payments to porn stars, and people will freak out about it. So it's a very different standard he's held to. It may not be fair, but that's reality. Donald Trump gets away with a lot more than other politicians do in basically every sphere of his life and his political campaigns. But at the same time, DeSantis, I think, is going to have to make some sort of cogent argument against Trump that would land with the Republican base in order to supplant him as, you know, the Republican nominee. So how are they thinking about how to navigate that challenge?
Yeah, so the big thing, and you noted it, it's not just DeSantis who's kind of sidestepping these attacks against Trump. It's virtually the entire 2024 field.
That's right.
And
Nikki Haley's not kicking sideways.
She's not kicking sideways.
But there's like a legitimate, I think there's a legitimate reason, whether or not it should be a legitimate reason, it is. When you go on the ground and talk to these voters, even the ones who don't want Trump to be president again also don't want to vote for someone who's directly attacking him.
They still like him.
They like his record. They feel defensive because of the media. And so it's this like constant, what line can we cross without alienating the voter base? Right. But I think, you know, I think DeSantis is, from people I've spoken to, his argument for the case against Trump is going to be, look at my Florida record, and he's going to try to get to the right on Trump on almost every issue. We've already seen it.
So tell us about that then. So you were on the ground with voters. The voters are the other people that actually matter, not any of our opinions. So what do you hear from them about people who are for DeSantis? What are they saying? What do they look? Are they college educated? Are they normal Iowa voters? Like, who are these people? What do they want from the man? And why do they like him over Trump?
I think there's a mix. It's certainly, and I read an NBC article a few weeks ago that is 100% accurate, that even with DeSantis' struggles the past month, he's still getting huge numbers of people to his events. Like they're having to, the Feenstra event, I think, was the most RSVPs that they'd ever had. The second event, the GOP county dinner, they had to like extend invites. He's people are very interested in him. And I think it's a mix of people, but they like him because they're, by and large, they're tired of the drama from the Trump administration. And that's what I'm hearing consistently is they're like, we like Trump. He did a great job, but we're just tired of the drama. We want someone younger. Like Ron DeSantis in Florida has been like really tight with his messaging. There's no, drama. There's no leaks. And they really like that. So really the big thing, in my opinion, from talking to voters is just they're tired of the drama.
And what do you think of the attempt to get to Trump's right on certain issues? I mean, the two that come to mind are abortion and entitlements. Because on the one hand, those further right positions may certainly land with a significant portion of the Republican base. On the other hand, they kind of undercut his other argument that he would be more electable than Donald Trump. I mean, we all see the way that the abortion issue has been devastating for Republican candidates who have taken extreme positions. We've certainly seen the way that, touching entitlements in any way is really off the table. And Ron DeSantis has talked about that certainly in the past, that he was open to cuts to Social Security and Medicare. So how are they looking at those challenges? How are voters seeing those? And we've also had reports that some donors were upset by comments, especially on Ukraine and abortion.
Yeah, I think in terms of how voters are looking at it, they still view him as more electable than Trump because
of the messiness.
They view him as being less messy.
Yes.
And so for them, and whether that's accurate or not, I've heard from the Democratic operatives who are texting me saying, "Oh, Ron DeSantis said this about abortion. Like, we're going to use this in the future." Like his recent comment about hitting Trump over the abortion thing. They said, this is going to be a talking point for us. So it is going to be a struggle. Like, how far right can you go before you lose some of those independent voters or some of those people who are maybe a little bit more moderate, socially, particularly? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's the real problem I think that he has, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, whenever let's flip to the Trump side. Whenever you talk, not just the Trump campaign, the voters that you actually see on the ground that love Trump, why do they want to stick with him and not DeSantis? What do they say about DeSantis? I like the guy, but I love Trump. Like, what does it look like?
The big message I hear is, I like DeSantis, but it's not his turn.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But the thing with the Trump base, when I go to Trump events, it's different than any other candidate that I
This is hard to explain to people. Can you explain that? Because I've been to events like this as well.
It's like you go to a DeSantis event and there's kind of like normal voters who are looking into the field. They're not necessarily committed to any one candidate. They're just, kind of, they like being courted. It's Iowa, it's New Hampshire. And then you go to these Trump events and these Trump rallies, and these are like, it's like fans.
Yeah.
It's like a
It's like a concert.
Yes, exactly. And so it's very different talking to them versus talking to voters at some of these other events.
Yes, yeah. Well,
Interesting.
I've always tried to hammer that home to people. It literally is like nothing else in politics, and haven't seen it in a long time. Shelby, thank you so much for joining us. We really
Thanks
appreciate
for coming in.
Thank
really
you.
grateful.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. Thanks for all of your support. BreakingPoints.com if you're able. Otherwise, we will see you all next week.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, BreakingPoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.